Hi, boys and girls. We're going to get ready to read the next section of our book, Wonder. Yesterday, we just finished up the last part of Augie's point of view, and we're going to be moving into part 7, which is told from Miranda's point of view. Some of you told me in your comments the other day that you thought it was going to be Miranda because she was at the very end of the chapter, so good guessing. And this chapter begins with Miranda. I forgot that I might see so many beautiful things I forgot that I might need to find out what life could bring. And that is by Aiden and Beautiful Things. And here's our first chapter. It's called Camp Lies. My parents got divorced the summer before 9th grade. My father was with someone else right away. In fact, though my mother never said so, I think this was the reason they got divorced. After the divorce, I hardly ever saw my father, and my mother acted stranger than ever. It's not that she was unstable or anything, just distant, remote. My mother is the kind of person who has a happy face for the rest of the world, but not a lot left over for me. She's never talked to me much, not about her feelings or her life. I don't know much about what she was like when she was my age. Don't know much about the things she liked or didn't like. The few times she mentioned her own parents, who I've never met, it was mostly about how she wanted to get as far away from them as she could once she was grown up. She never told me why. I asked a few times, but she would pretend that she hadn't heard me. I didn't want to go to camp that summer. I had wanted to stay with her to help her through the divorce. But she insisted that I go away. I figured she wanted the time alone, so I gave it to her. Camp was awful. I hated it. I thought it would be better being a junior counselor, but it wasn't. No one I knew from the previous year had come back, so I didn't know anyone. Not a single person. I'm not even sure why, but I started playing this little make-believe game with the girls in the camp. They'd ask me stuff about myself, and I'd make things up. My parents are in Europe, I told them. I live in a huge townhouse on the nicest street in North River Heights. I have a dog named Daisy. Then one day I blurted out that I had a little brother who was deformed. I have absolutely no idea why I said this. It just seemed like an interesting thing to say. And, of course, the reaction I got from the little girls in the bungalow was dramatic. Really? Oh, so sorry. That must be tough, etc., etc. I regretted saying this the moment that it escaped from my lips. Of course, I felt like such a fake. If Via ever found out, I thought she'd think I was such a weirdo, and I felt like a weirdo. But I have to admit, there was a part of me that felt a little entitled to this lie. I've known Augie since I was 6 years old. I've watched him grow up. I've played with him. I've watched all 6 episodes of Star Wars for his sake. So I could talk to him about the aliens and the bounty hunters and all of that. I'm the one that gave him the astronaut helmet that he wouldn't take off for almost 2 years. I mean, I've kind of earned the right to think of him as my brother. And the strangest thing is that these lies I told, these fictions, did wonders for my popularity. The other junior counselors heard it from the campers, and they were all over it. Never in my life have I ever been considered one of the popular girls in anything. But that summer in camp, for whatever reason, I was the girl everybody wanted to hang out with. Even the girls in Bungalow 32 were totally into me. These were the girls at the top of the food chain. They said they liked my hair, though they changed it. They said that they liked the way I did my makeup, though they changed that too. They showed me how to turn my t-shirts into halter tops. We smoked, we snuck out late at night, and took the path through the woods to the boys' camp. We hung out with the boys. When I got home from camp, I called Ella right away to make plans with her. I don't know why I didn't call Via. I guess I just didn't feel like talking about stuff with her. She would have asked me about my parents, about camp. Ella never really asked me about things. She was an easier friend to have in that way. She wasn't serious like Via. She was fun. She thought it was cool when I dyed my hair pink. She wanted to hear all about those trips through the woods late at night. The next chapter is called School. I hardly saw Via at school this year, and when I did, it was awkward. I felt like she was always judging me. I knew she didn't like my new look. I knew she didn't like my new group of friends. I didn't like hers much either. We never actually argued, we just drifted away. Ella and I badmouthed her to each other. She's such a prude. She's so this, she's so that. We knew we were being mean, but it was easier to ice her out if we pretended that she had done something to us. The truth is, she hadn't changed at all. We had. We'd become these other people, and she was still the person she had always been. That annoyed me so much, and I didn't know why. Once in a while, I'd look to see where she was sitting in the lunchroom or check the elective list to see what she had signed up for. But except for a few nods in the hallway and an occasional hello, we never really spoke to each other. I noticed Justin about halfway through the school year. I hadn't noticed him at all before then, other than that he was this skinny, cutish dude with thick glasses and longish hair who carried a violin everywhere. Then one day I saw him in front of the school with his arm around Via. "So, Via has a boyfriend," I said to Ella, kind of mocking. I don't know why it surprised me that she'd have a boyfriend. Out of the three of us, she was totally the prettiest. Blue eyes, and long, wavy dark hair. But she just never acted like she was at all interested in boys. She acted like she was too smart for that kind of stuff. I had a boyfriend too, a guy named Zach. When I told him I was choosing the theater elective, he shook his head and said, "Careful, you don't turn into a drama geek." Not the most sympathetic dude in the world, but very cute. Very high up on the totem pole, a varsity jock. I wasn't planning on taking theater at first. Then I saw Via's name on the sign-up sheet and just wrote my name down on the list. I don't even know why. We managed to avoid one another throughout most of the semester, like we didn't even know each other. Then one day, I got to theater class a little early, and Davenport asked me to run off additional copies of the play he was planning on having us do for the spring production, The Elephant Man. I had heard about it, but I didn't really know what it was about, so I started skimming through the pages while I was waiting for the Xerox machine. It was about a man who lived more than 100 years ago named John Merrick, who was terribly disformed. "We can't do this play, Mr. D," I told him when I got back to class, and I told him why. "My little brother has a birth defect and has a deformed face, and this play would hit too close to home." He seemed annoyed and a little unsympathetic, but I kind of said that my parents would have a real issue with the school doing this play. So anyway, we ended up switching to our town. I think I went for the role of Emily Gibbs because I knew Via was going for it too. It never occurred to me that I would beat her for the role. All right, boys and girls, that's the end of our 2 chapters today and the point of view from Miranda. I think we heard some pretty grown-up ideas here, and that's mostly because these girls are in high school, and so some of their ideas and the things that they're thinking and talking about are grown up. I hope that didn't bother you too much, hearing from a high schooler's point of view. But this book is definitely written to tell us many different points of view. The points of view of Augie, of the parents, of Jack, and now Miranda. So tell me some of your thoughts about this part of the book. Think about Miranda's thinking here. She's awfully protective of Augie in these 2 chapters, even though it doesn't always come out in her friendship with the sister, Via. So tell me what you think, and we'll read together next time.